Douglas Lima versus Gegard Mousasi is set to take place in the co-main event of Bellator 243 alongside Ryan Bader versus Vadim Nemkov, and the Bellator middleweight world title is on the line. Okay, until recently, Rafael Lovato Jr. was our Bellator middleweight champion, but he had to step down because of his brain injury. The show must go on. Gegard Mousasi was going to get a rematch against him anyway, so him getting a title shot is necessary, and Douglas Lima moving up, I can't think of a more interesting matchup. That's the best thing that we can do right now, and I completely understand it. On Douglas Lima's end, you've got to understand, Douglas Lima is in a situation right now where Rory McDonald's just left the promotion. They're 1-1. Okay, in Douglas Lima's mind, I'm sure he wants to settle that fight and that trilogy as much as anything else. Rory McDonald just left the promotion to PFL. Douglas Lima's next best opportunity to eradicate the theory of maybe Rory would have beat him in a trilogy is to do what Rory McDonald could not do. Go up to middleweight and take the Bellator middleweight title away from Gegard Mousasi, and that would mean that almost like a trilogy isn't needed between him and Roy McDonald, because people would just assume, oh, we don't even have that argument anymore. Douglas Lima is the best Bellator middleweight in the world. Like, there's not even a talk of a trilogy because we've just seen him do what Rory McDonald failed to do. It's a tough test for Douglas Lima, I'll be honest with you. One of the main reasons why I like Douglas Lima as a fighter is because he's bigger than everyone that he fights. He's a huge welterweight. I almost said middleweight there by accident. That's how big he is. I saw a picture of him next to Kamaru Usman. I thought Usman was one of the biggest welterweights I've ever seen, and Douglas Lima dwarfed him. Like, seriously, Douglas Lima is a huge guy, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like this fight for him, because his size comes into effect sometimes in his fights, and if he's facing a guy who's equal size and way bigger than him in Gegard Mousasi, way stronger than him, I wonder how that's going to go. I also wonder where Gegard Mousasi's mind is right now, because he's just had a rematch with Rafael Lovato Jr. taken away from him. I'm sure he wants to get back in there and win, but I don't know where he's at in terms of his career. Does he want the Bellator world title at middleweight as much as Douglas Lima does? Because for Douglas Lima, this is legacy. You know, can I become the two-weight world champion at Bellator? Can I do what Rory never did? And can I separate myself from the pack? But for Gegard Mousasi, this must just be like another fight for him. That's what worries me about Gegard Mousasi. I want to put my prediction on Gegard Mousasi for now. Right now, I'm thinking Gegard Mousasi wins that fight. I would love to see him square off with each other. But I really think that Gegard Mousasi recently, and you saw it in the Rafael Lovato Jr. fight, he's not going as hard as he used to. And you saw that when Gegard started to fade in those later rounds. I've never seen Gegard that tired before than in the Rafael Lovato Jr. fight. And credit to Rafael Lovato Jr. You know, he did his job, but Gegard Mousasi looked slow and laboured in like the third round, which I'm never used to seeing from him whatsoever. So that surprised me. Gegard's usually very good with his pace, and he's a veteran. He's been in the fourth and fifth round so many times. He's done this plenty of times. Most times in history, successfully. You know, Gegard Mousasi is the veteran of the veterans. And it surprised me to see him that laboured in those later rounds. And if Douglas Lima is in that fight and can survive the first two, you know what? Gegard's a beast. I don't mind Lima's chances, especially at this point in Gegard's career. If he's not coming back correct against Douglas Lima, I think Lima can do some shit, because Gegard's not just going to smush Lima on the ground. You know, I like Rory McDonald, but that was also in a tough time of Rory McDonald's career where he was talking about maybe retiring back then. You know, he hadn't started the Grand Prix yet at welterweight, so he was he didn't have a commitment in his career. So he just tried to go up and fight Gegard Mousasi. Didn't work out for him. I just wonder if it'll be the same story with Douglas Lima. I really do, because Gegard is a fucking monster, but I'm just thinking if he can't finish Douglas Lima, and he comes out in the third and fourth and fifth round, like he did against Rafael Lovato Jr., the smaller, more energetic, more youthful, more athletic man in Douglas Lima is going to take over in those later rounds. This is an even Stevens bout. Honestly, it's very hard to predict a fight here, because I feel like I want to go with Douglas Lima, because when I see it as a 50-50, I'm going with the underdog. And the underdog is going to be Douglas Lima for sure. I'm going to go with Douglas Lima getting the win. And also, I love this for the division right now at Bellator, because the Bellator welterweight division right now is in a very difficult position, because no one's blatantly earned a title shot, you know? John Fitch is the best argument, and that's just not a good fight to put on right now. You know, having John Fitch as your Bellator world champion, although it would respect the rankings because John Fitch is #1 right now, going to a draw with Rory McDonald, arguably beating Rory McDonald. I thought he beat Rory McDonald on the night. But either way, this is good for the division, because now we get to establish some things at welterweight, because Douglas Lima leaving and trying his luck at middleweight, first of all, it doesn't change anything with him at welterweight, so it's fine. It's not like he loses his welterweight title. He goes up, and if he loses, he doesn't get what he doesn't already have. You know? So it's like, he has nothing to lose going up in weight. Gegard Mousasi, if he loses this one, his career might take a completely different direction, but if Douglas Lima loses, he's still got something to go back to of the welterweight division, which is why I love super fights so much. And I think fighters should do them more often, because it's literally a win-win situation. You're seen as the brave guy going up in weight, and even if you lose, you get paid championship money and you don't lose your belt. Sounds like a free loss to me, okay? Sounds like a real free loss to me. Douglas Lima's making the jump. If he does get this done, it would be an absolute sensation, and I would love it to happen as well, because it would then open up a plethora of new matchups for him at middleweight, like a potential Douglas Lima versus Lyoto Machida fight, which I think would be orgasmic if we could do Lyoto Machida versus Douglas Lima at some point. Sign me the fuck up. That sounds amazing. And it would also solidify him as one of the best fighters outside of the UFC right now. Douglas Lima's a monster. I feel like I'm going to bet on Douglas Lima to get this one done. I really am. If he's an underdog, I'm choosing Douglas Lima, because that would be a very good upset to pick. I think that's a 50-50 fight, seriously. Can Gegard take over enough early and get the finish? Or can Douglas withstand the storm early from the bigger, larger man in the grappling scenario and take over in the later rounds when Gegard seems to be a little bit more laboured as his career is progressing? Very interesting. I'm probably going to go with Lima, to be honest. But here's why I like it for the Bellator welterweight division, because we have no title contender right now. Okay, it was all about this guy's lost to that guy, this guy's lost to this guy. Douglas Lima's already beat this guy twice in Andrei Korshkov, who's #3, so that's kind of a weird position. Douglas Lima's beaten everyone, okay? And it's tough, really, to give anyone a title shot, because anyone you give it to right now, MVP, Lorenz Larkin, Paul Daly, anyone you want to give it to, he's beaten them already. So it's always going to be a rematch. So if he comes back down to welterweight, by the time he comes back down to welterweight, I would like to have seen these fights happen in the Bellator welterweight division. Michael Page has won 3 straight in a row since his Douglas Lima loss. He's back on track. Let's put him up the rankings one more time. I want to see Michael Venom Page take on Lorenz Larkin. Lorenz Larkin's at #2. Michael Venom Page is at #4, at least by this website that I'm looking at right now. I believe those are pretty accurate results as well. Michael Page, Lorenz Larkin, sounds good to me. The winner of that one can get the Douglas Lima fight when he returns to the division. And other than that, hopefully Paul Daly can get past Homasi, I believe he's facing next, not too soon. I can't remember when he's facing Homasi. I'll have to look that shit up. Let me check right now. I'm going to go through and I'm going to find out. Paul Daly, here we go. Paul Daly is fighting Sabah Homasi, who's a UFC reject, got KO'd by Abdul Razak Al Hassan, and finished by Abdul Razak Al Hassan twice, for good measure. So, you know, tough for Sabah Homasi. I think Paul Daly's going to get past him. That's taking place on March the 13th. And I think if Paul Daly can get past him, then we should definitely see a Paul Daly versus perhaps an Andrei Korshkov matchup. Okay? Because Larkin and Korshkov is cool. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like Paul Daly versus Korshkov would be the best matchup right now. And I also feel like Paul Daly would have a great chance there. I really do. Michael Venom Page, Lorenz Larkin, Paul Daly, Andrei Korshkov. We've never seen Michael Venom Page take on Lorenz Larkin. We've seen Paul Daly take on Lorenz Larkin and beat him by KO. I like Michael Venom Page's chances against Larkin. I think Larkin's a tough test. But I think if you want to build a title contender right now, we're one fight away with everyone in the division. So Douglas Lima making this move to middleweight, I completely understand it. He's only investing in his division by making this move. Taking some time away, letting it grow naturally. And hopefully, I'm assuming, he would love Michael Venom Page to defeat Lorenz Larkin and then him to get that rematch and get a bit more of a payday. I'm sure. So that's the fight I want to see next. I want to see Michael Venom Page versus Lorenz Larkin on this Bellator card. Because if you put those fights on the card at Bellator 243, you're done. Ryan Bader, Vadim Nemkov. You've got Douglas Lima versus Gegard Mousasi. And if you put MVP versus Lorenz Larkin on that same card, you're done. That's all you need to compete with the UFC. That's the UFC weekend when the UFC is in Brazil, which means they're not going to be at peak hours for American television, leaving an opening for this card for Bellator. It's a perfect business move from them. They've noticed that there's no gaps in the UFC schedule coming up, so what they've done is they've seeked a pay-per-view that's out of US time zone, and they've built an amazing card around that time. Scott Coker is a genius of a businessman, and he's made this move like a fucking smooth fucking criminal. I love it. Good job by Scott Coker. Amazing fight. I'm looking forward to it. It opens up a new realm of possibility at middleweight with Douglas Lima. I think Douglas Lima's going to get the job done. But Gegard Mousasi, I wouldn't be surprised. This is 50-50 to me. And if Douglas Lima's the underdog, Douglas Lima gets the job done. It's too good of an underdog to take. It really is. I love this fight, by the way. Amazing stuff. Looking forward to it. Great timing on the card. Great card itself as well. Let's build a storyline of MVP versus Lorenz Larkin on the same card. Because then you can build that into a promo. You lost to him. You put in your hard work. You got 3 straight KO wins in a row. Now you take on the test in Lorenz Larkin, who Douglas Lima went to a 5-round decision with. If you can get a finish over him, now we're talking rematches between MVP and Douglas Lima for the welterweight title. Goodbye. Like and subscribe. Click that button there. Thank you for watching. See you guys later.